Matthew chapter 5, verse 14 through 16. It says, you, right there, you in your seats, right here, us. You are the light of the world. A town built on a hill cannot be hidden. Neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl, or they shouldn't. Instead, or rather, they put it on its stand, and it gives light to everyone in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, that they may see your good deeds and glorify your Father who is in heaven. He says, you are the light of the world. Our family were on vacation. We were on the Oregon coast, and it's amazing to leave 100-degree Texas and go to the Oregon coast where the high was 65. It just felt good. Put on a coat, went on the beach. We were checking out a lighthouse, and we went up in this lighthouse, and this lighthouse was old. I mean, it had been there for a long time, and the people that worked there, I think, were there at the beginning of the lighthouse, and they were very passionate about their jobs, and they're there, and they're probably like 105 or so, and they're explaining every detail of the lighthouse. And we went in, and Jamie and I, we kind of are the same on this, is when we want to tour something, we want to tour it our own way. Don't do tour guides. I don't want to sit there and listen to a whole spiel. I want to just go investigate it myself. And so they said, well, there's some people in there that are going to give you the history of the... I'm like, oh, no. All I want to do is see the lighthouse. I do not want the history of the lighthouse. So they start going in. And this guy up in the top of this lighthouse actually captures my attention as he begins to describe the purpose and the care of this lighthouse and the passion that they had in order to shine this light to save other people. And so we're up there in this lighthouse, and we begin to walk back down, and I'm thinking about this, and before you go out the door, there is a sign that shows the makeup or the anatomy of the lighthouse, and it talks about the care that goes into preserving the flame. And if the flame is right, then the light will be right. And the Holy Spirit began to speak to me. And I want to speak from the subject, leave the light on. Leave the light on. You remember that old slogan from Motel 6? We'll leave the light on for you. It's like the hotel that you don't want them to leave the light on for you at. It's like, leave the door open, okay? I don't want to see whatever is in that room. If you've ever had to stay there, it's just, maybe I had a bad experience, but I don't want the light on. Just, I'll sleep in the car. But their slogan was, we'll leave the light on for you, because they wanted you to know that if you're driving, you're on a road trip, it's in the middle of the night, we got a room for you. They had a lot of rooms open, actually. And they got some space for you. We'll leave the light on for you. And so I've been thinking about this topic, and we're in this lighthouse, and I'm thinking about the lighthouse, and I begin to research like a nerd, lighthouses. And I'm looking at these lighthouses and all the different lighthouses all over, and I found that lighthouses, there was all kinds of technology that went into the projection of the flame of a lighthouse. All kinds of prisms and timing, and it's actually very intricate. But two of the things that they said really caught me. It says a lighthouse does a couple things. A lighthouse marks dangerous coastlines, and it marks safe entrances to cities. I want to just key in on this, and I want to say you are the light. I want to say you are the light. I want to say our church is a lighthouse. We are a lighthouse that shines a beacon, that shines a light into the darkness that we live. And our twofold purpose is exactly that, to point out dangerous coastline, to point out danger that other people cannot see, and then to guide people to safe entrance into cities or into their destinies or into their assignments. And so I'm studying this lighthouse, and I'm finding all these things, and they say that the lamp, the actual light of the lighthouse, the lamp is the heart of the lighthouse. And I want to talk for the next couple minutes about your lamp. I want to talk about the lamp that sits in your heart. I want to talk about the fire of your own desire, the fire of your own passion that burns for God, and why it's there, why you have it, and what it's for. Because you are, this is what the scripture says, you are the light of the world. And last time I checked, the world is pretty dark. I'm watching the news last night, and the storm's going, and I'm watching CNN, and don't judge me for watching CNN. And I'm watching CNN, and I like to see all sides, okay? And so I'm watching CNN, and I'm like, man, it's dark. It is dark. And the Holy Spirit spoke to me, and he said, Dustin, is it dark, or is the light dim? And I want to just ask you this, is it that dark? It is dark. It is dark. We know it's dark. But is it that dark because it's that dark? Or is it possibly, maybe, perhaps, because the light is so dim? You are the light of the world. 1 John chapter 2, verse 9 through 11, it says, anyone who claims to be in the light but hates a brother or sister is still in the darkness. Anyone who loves their brother and sister lives in the light, and there is nothing in them to make them stumble. But anyone, this is pretty clear, right? Anyone who hates a brother or sister is in the darkness and walks around in the darkness. They do not know where they are going because the darkness has blinded them. These last 3 days, we have seen exhibits of people walking in darkness. And I think that they need to see a light. They need to see a light. And I'm going to tell you what the light is. The light is not your point of view. The light is not your political platform. The light is not your idea to fix things. The light has always been the same yesterday, today, and forever. The light, friends, is Jesus. He's still the answer. As spiritual and as cliche as it sounds, He is the answer for the fallen human condition, and we need Him. We need Him. We need His light in our world today. And I was thinking about these different things about the light, and I just want to give you them real quickly. Is you have to possess the light. You have to possess it. To shine it, you have to have it. And the problem is that most people don't know that they have it. But I've got news for you, is that if you follow Jesus, you are a light. I'll prove it to you. John chapter 8, verse 12, it says, when Jesus spoke again to the people, He said, I am the light of the world. We know that, we believe that, we love that. Whoever follows me will never walk in darkness, but will have the light of life. Which means that Jesus was the light of the world, but now that I follow Him, I am His light. So I want you to know this, that you possess light. To be able to shine a light, you have to know that you have a light. But I'm going to tell you, if you follow Jesus, then you are a light. You're a light to your culture. You're a light to your family. You're a light in your workplace. You are a light. 2 Corinthians chapter 1, verse 3 and 4 says, praise be to the God and Father of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of compassion and the God of all comfort, who comforts us in all our troubles, so that we can in turn comfort those in any trouble with the comfort we ourselves receive from God. So here's the thing. Some people think to be actually have a light, you've got to be educated. You've got to be perfect. You've got to have a biblical major in a biblical doctrine. You've got to study foreign language in Hebrew and Greek and be able to read the Bible in its original state. No, that's not what you need. All that's great, but all you need is to be comforted some way yourself. And if you've been comforted by God in any way, this scripture says, with that comfort is now the comfort that you pass on. You have more light than you think you do. Well, I don't really have something to share. You know what? Some of you are sitting in this room and you should not be here. You should have never made it through what you made it through. You should have never came out on the other side of what you went through, but you did. You're here. You're sitting here. You're worshiping God. You're in community. You made it. So you are a light. All you need to be a lighthouse is to have a light in the house. Some people say, well, how could I ever lead anybody? How could I ever make a difference? All you need to be a lighthouse is just to have a light in the house. How do I have a light in the house? I follow Jesus. If I'm a follower of Jesus, I automatically have a light. The second thing is we must protect the light. verse 15 of our passage, it says, neither do people light a lamp and put it under a bowl. This is one of our greatest responsibilities, is to tend to the fire, the flame, the light that we have in our own life. I'm going to tell you this, when you follow Jesus, you have a light, but it's then your responsibility to steward the light, to fan it into flame, to walk it out, to stoke the fire, to build the fire. And how do you do that? You do that by fueling it, and fueling it daily. This is what I found out about lighthouses, is before they actually had modern technology, they would use actual flame that would be illuminated by prisms and mirrors to be projected in the sea, and they would use it, but they had to take extra care to protect that flame. And they say this, that the cleaner the fuel would be, then the brighter the flame would be. See, some of you have lights, but they're so dim because you've never tended to your own lamp. How do you take care of it? You spend time with Jesus. It's kind of simple. You carve time out of your day to be with Him. You think on it. You take extra care to what is put inside of you. If you're listening to negativity all day, every day, watching negativity all day, every day, change some of the things that you're fueling yourself with so that you can burn brighter. If your light has become dim, then you need to change some things so that the light is brighter. And I'm going to tell you that your fire is your responsibility. I hear people say, and people come, and a lot of people have come to this church and say, well, I just wasn't getting fed somewhere. And I understand that, and I believe that you should receive biblical teaching, and you should be fed in the house of God. But I'm going to tell you this, your salvation or your fire shouldn't depend on the teaching you get from the platform. Because God's given you the ability to have your own relationship with Him and to walk with Him and learn from Him and hear His voice. This is not supposed to be life support. This is supposed to be a rally. This is supposed to be encouragement. This is supposed to be marching orders. This is supposed to be getting our assignment. This can't be your everyday life. It was important that they tended to the fuel, tended to the flame daily, not weekly. So every Sunday is not going to cut it. I got to have something daily. This is your daily bread. I got to have something daily. I got to be in a consistent rhythm of spending time with Jesus and receiving community and receiving insight into my life, which is why you should be in a group. You should get involved in a group where you're just receiving something's challenging your mind and challenging your theology, and you're studying the Word of God. The Word of God is alive, and it will come alive in you. So you must possess the flame, but then you have to protect the light. Possess the light, protect the light. 2 Timothy chapter 1, verse 6 says, for this reason, I remind you, speaking to Timothy, to fan into flame the gift of God, which is in you through the laying on of hands. Timothy had a light. He followed Jesus. He was a follower. But he said, I want you to fan it into. This is what he's saying. He said, you got more in you, Timothy. You got more in you. And this is what I'm looking at our church, and I'm saying, we got more in us. There's more. I know you got a light, but there's more in you. And we've got to burn for Jesus in our day-to-day lives. We've got to burn for Him and fall in love with Jesus in our everyday living, in our everyday working, not just week to week or Sunday to Sunday or Wednesday to Wednesday. We've got to be in relationship. So we have to possess the light, and we have to protect the light. And thirdly, we must project the light. I realized that the whole purpose of them having a light was to project it. I want you to catch this, because the reason that we have lighthouses now, a lot of times are for show. Because they're great to take pictures by, and they're great to look at, because modern technology has given us some comforts in navigation that we don't need the help of a lighthouse anymore. So a lot of them are just for look, for show. And I'm just going to tell you, the last thing that I would ever want to be in my life is a church that's there for show. I don't want to be a Christian for show. I don't want to have a light to say I have a light. I don't want to have a light so I can have a platform. I want to have a light so that I can find out the purpose of the light, which is not just to possess it, not just to protect it, it is to project it. That what God has saved you out of is so that you can save someone else. Well, how could I, Pastor? How could the motto of the mission of our church is to know God. to be strong, to do great exploits. And you know what? It usually happens in that order. It's really simple. Your first step is just to know God. Can you help someone know God? This week, you could invite someone to come with you next Sunday. And that would be the first step in knowing God. It's sometimes we get super spiritual, but really it's very practical. It's just turning my attention. Hebrews says, fix your eyes on Jesus, the author and the perfecter of your faith. The New Testament speaks all the time of where we put our focus. Set your mind on what the Spirit desires. This is what the Bible teaches us specifically in the New Testament, that the way we go, the way of our focus. And so we must focus our mind on Him. So if you have a light, then you're supposed to use the light. And let me say it this way, to possess and not project is a travesty. To have something to give, but to not give it, is a gross misuse of the grace of Jesus Christ that He gave to us. I've been convicted the last couple of weeks as I've prepared this and thought about this, because my light is not to keep me warm. My light is not to look good. My light is to shine on the dangerous coastlines of our culture and to give safe passage to people who need an answer and need a hand up or need some help in a moment of despair or of crisis. That's our job as the church, or let me say it this way, that's our job as a Christian. Oh, the church will do it. No, you are the light of the world. Well, we got all kinds of outreach programs at the church. Yes, we do. And you know what? The most effective still today, the most effective outreach in any church is you. People have done studies on it for years, and they want it to be something else. They want it to be social media right now. They want it so bad. But word of mouth trumps social media every single time, because there's something about you shining the light of your life onto someone else's life, and they say, if you did that, I could do it. If you made it, I could make it. If you're doing all right, I can do all right. If you can hear God, I can hear God. If you can pray for someone and them get healed, I can pray for someone and get healed. If you can spend time with God in prayer and sense His presence, I can spend time with God in prayer and sense His presence. I came across this story this week about a lighthouse as I'm studying lighthouses, and it's actually a really long story, and I'm not a big story reader, and so this is different for me, but I'm going to read you a story because the message is absolutely amazing in this story. So it's long, so you're just going to have to work with me for a minute, but I think it's going to speak to you specifically as we talk about our church as a lighthouse and the light being in each of us as believers and in the day and time that we live right now, right this moment. Many years ago, there was a little village on a rocky seacoast where storms often battered and seas were ever treacherous. Many ships were driven onto the rocks by the storms, and the lives of many sailors were lost because of the raging seas. One day, the people decided among themselves that they should establish a lighthouse and a life-saving station on a little peninsula on the coast to warn ships away from the rocks and to save the lives of those who were cast into the icy waters. They approached the government and began to secure the necessary funds for their project. Soon they set forth and built a tower, and they set a beacon on it. They organized a lookout system, and they bought boats and learned how to man them. And soon they were in business, the business of saving lives. Soon the effects of what they were doing became known far and wide. Fewer ships went on the rocks, and when such a tragedy did occur and the alarm was sounded, the people risked their own lives to rescue those who had been cast into the raging icy waters. Within a few short years, people came from great distance to study their lighthouse and to use it as a model. One day, someone suggested that since they all spent so much time at the lighthouse, that they should gather there occasionally and enjoy good fellowship. And soon they began to get together at the lighthouse. In fact, many people began to build their homes near the lighthouse. Then when the lookout sounded the alarm, they were there, ready to go out. Next, it was decided that if they were going to spend so much time there, they must make the place more comfortable. So arrangements were made to heat the lighthouse. The gray walls were painted a brilliant white. Some of the walls were paneled. Rugs were put on the floors to disguise the bare concrete. A fine kitchen was installed with a handsome stove. And generally speaking, the lighthouse became a nice place to spend your time waiting for the alarm to be sounded. Everything about the lighthouse was made comfortable and nice. The lighthouse soon became the center of life in the little town that grew up around it. One night, a fierce storm blew in as storms had blown in for years. Many ships were tossed on the jagged rocks, and the men at the lighthouse spent long hours picking sailors from the bitter cold, icy waters and taking them to the lighthouse, where they were fed and provided with dry clothing. This had happened many times over the years, but this time, after the storm subsided and the sailors had all left the lighthouse, there were some men who were angry. It seems the storm had made them leave the comfort of the lighthouse and go out into the wet, dangerous seas, and they got cold, very cold. The sailors, when they were delivered to the lighthouse, soiled the carpets. The kitchen was a mess, not to mention the stove. After a brief meeting, it was first decided that sailors, when they were brought into the lighthouse, should be taken to the basement, not to the nice upper areas. Sometime later, another storm blew in, and about half of the ready men went out into the boats and again picked sailors from the frigid waters. This time, the ship, which had broken apart on the rocks, was from another nation, and the men who manned her spoke another language, and even worse, were of a different color. After this storm, a few more men joined those who refused to enter the sea. They decided that men like these did not belong in the lighthouse at all. Some said they felt that the lighthouse's job was not supposed to be saving sailors from other lands because there was so much different. There were those, too, who objected to leaving the comfort of the lighthouse to go out into the storm. These men petitioned the government. They also agreed. So finally, it was decided that the beacon would be kept lit, but the rescue work would be discontinued. That's a travesty of the church. A small group disagreed, however, and went down the coast a short distance and started a new lighthouse. The small group decided that they would establish the biggest life-saving station on the little peninsula, and so they did. Every day they warned ships and sometimes attempted to save lives from the icy water. Fame of the new lighthouse grew, and the lighthouse back up the bay eventually turned out its light. Some people say the beacon can still be seen today in you and I. Oh yes, they also say the small group running the new lighthouse were those who were once rescued from the raging seas themselves. We as people all have a choice to make with regards to our rescue work. We can choose to allow our lives to become comfortable, and we can find ourselves very content, and oftentimes we find that we have turned out our beacon of hope for one another. Or perhaps, I hope and pray, that we find ourselves lighting and saving the path of others, both in our words and in our deeds. A long story, but I hope you caught it. One lighthouse grew comfortable, and they said, we'll keep the light lit, but we're going to discontinue the saving, because we don't get to pick and choose who we save. And if we can't pick or choose, because some we feel are worthy of saving and some are not, so they decided not to save at all. But there was a couple of them that said, we're going to have the biggest life-saving station on the peninsula. And I like to imagine that's like us. We're going to have the biggest life-saving station in the state, maybe in the country. We're going to have the biggest life-saving station, because I don't care who's in the water. If they're in the water, they need help. And the lighthouse's job is not to decide or decipher who gets saved. It's supposed to save anyone in need. And that, my friends, is the Church of Jesus Christ. And it should serve all. It should save all. It should minister to all without prejudice, without choice, without favoritism. Whosoever will call upon the name of the Lord will be saved. The answer is Jesus. He is the light of the world, and He is the light that remains in you and I. Jesus is the light, and you are the lamp. This church is a lighthouse, but you are the light. It says that they discontinued their saving work. I'll tell you, the day that I quit is when we discontinue our saving work. When we become a statue, when we become just a holding pen, we can become just a place of comfort, I'm out of here. Enjoy Church 1132. I'm out. That's not what I got in this for. That's not. See, the people that started the New Lighthouse, they said, well, how could we not save others? Because if that lighthouse hadn't shown, we wouldn't even be here. So that's what I feel like God's trying to raise up in North Dallas, is a center, a church, a hub, a group, a movement of people that say, I was saved by the light of someone's kindness and the grace of God. So how dare I choose and how dare I pick? Let my light shine. Leave the light on for me. Leave the light. You better leave the light on. You better tell this world, we will leave the light on. You can come anytime. You can come any place. You can come after any difficulty. You can come with whatever past. You can come with whatever history. If you come to Church 1132, the light will be on.